Number 21, Jack Martin. Ari, I'm a little bit confused as to how to preview Jack this year.
Yeah.
The talent, the ability, it's all there. I feel like our experience with Jack over the last 2 seasons has really been a microcosm of his entire career, where it's been early in the season, brilliance. You just see him and you think, wow, how good is this guy? And then as the season goes on and as the length of time goes on, there's always an injury. Now, 2021, it was unlucky. It was a collision injury late in the game and he missed, it was PCL injury. They're just nasty. Can't do anything about that. But I don't know. I'm just confused because I know how good he can be, but I don't know how much I can rely on it to be shown consistently.
I think that's, if you speak to most fans, like, what do you think Jack Martin will be in 2022? It's I don't know, like, who knows, because he's been here for 2 years. He hasn't really locked down a position. Like, is he a forward? Is he a midfielder? Like, where does he play? Like it says in the title, where does he play his best footy? Like, it's an interesting, very interesting. Like, I think he's perhaps the most intriguing player for, like, that we're going to see through this preseason, because he's got his second chance now under Voss. He didn't find his role under Teague. If Voss can work with him and find his best position, I think they'll go a long way in just solidifying continuity within himself, which will help everything else in his game.
Yeah, like the question I have here, where does he play his best footy? I actually think he plays his best footy as a midfielder, but I don't think he's fit enough to play in the midfield for a full game. And that's part of the reason why I feel like he has become this high half forward that rotates in the midfield. And I know that Teague last year had this idea of switching him and Zach Williams as forward and midfielders. And I mean, I get it. He's got some nice height about him. He can take a nice grab. Definitely has forward craft, and that's something that we've needed, especially with that lack of small forward over the last few years. But now that we've got that small forward situation kind of humming along nicely, I still think he will start round one on the half forward flank. I kind of picture it being a Charlie Curnow centre half forward with Jack Silvani and Jack Martin on those flanks. That's what I would predict, on the 17th of January, 2022. Yeah. But moving forward, I mean, like, we have this other notion of the burst player, and he falls into this category. And I think of 44 players on the list, I mean, I could be exaggerating, but I genuinely think half of the list are in this category of burst player. Yeah. And the burst player is now someone that can, essentially what it is a player that can have a really good 7-minute patch and then go missing for the rest of the half. That's essentially what this notion is. And I think that's the part about Jack Martin that I would love to see evolve this year. Rather than me saying in the first quarter, like, wow, what a start, and then not seeing much of him for the rest of the game, I want to be able to, watch him and see a more consistent performance quarter to quarter.
I think he, like you said, with the burst player, I think, in my opinion, it's going to sound weird, but he's the most natural burst player in our list. Yeah. So he, like, that's kind of been his game, where he's like, he can break a game open for 10 minutes, kick 3 goals, and completely tear it apart. It's just, you need to compensate for him for the rest of the game. He's that luxury player, and I think you can only have 1, 2 at the absolute max in your 22. I think he perhaps is at his peak performance when he's playing that role. Now it's a thing of, we need to change your expectations on him, because it's, once we find out what his role is in the team, then we know his expectation. Then we know his expectations.
Yeah, I mean, when I picture him and I try to sort of crystal ball, like, what would he need to do game by game, average wise, over 22 games for me to look at the end of the season and say, all right, yeah, this is exactly what we need. I look at a guy that I'm looking at a guy that should be getting the ball something like 16 to 18 times a game and kicking. If he's playing in his half forward role and he's, in the forward half, there's no reason why he can't kick, a goal a game. I just don't see why over the course of 22 rounds or 23 rounds, why he can't average a goal a game. So if we're looking at a guy that's giving you 17-ish touches and 1.5 goals a game over the span of a season, that looks like 26, 27 goals or 28 goals for a whole year. Great. I mean, first of all, he's paid according to that. He's paid very well. We've invested in him. I know that we got him, through as a delisted free agent, but the salary is quite significant. He's not a little role player. He's one of our, he's probably in our top third or highest paid players in that bracket. So there's some expectation on what you expect from him, and I'm hoping as well a bit of maturity. The body's now definitely filling out more than what it was when he first came into the league. He just got married, so obviously congratulations to him on that. And I just start to wonder, these life events are starting to happen for some of these players. We've talked about Mitch McGovern, Zach Williams, who are both, having children, and, Jack Martin's getting married. So I wonder what that does for his maturity levels, and I wonder if that settles him a little bit. There's also the notion of, well, he's now fully entrenched in the Carlton family. I would hope that he doesn't feel like a new player in the club anymore, and I would hope that we start seeing some more leadership from him. I think when you look at a Jesse Motlop, a young Indigenous player, I would hope that he can go up to a Jack Martin and gain some insight and some and just some tutelage from him as well.
Like he's coming into that age now where he's got to start doing that. Like he's got to start being that mature body. I think his personal side of things will help massively with the football side, because it just gives him that ground, that base where then he can propel. Like if that base is unsteady, you can't really reach your full potential. Obviously there's exceptions to that rule, but in the most cases that's how it works. And going back to the goals a game stats talk, would you if he is this burst player, do you look at his stats or do you look at the games he's won for us? So at the end of the season, do you go back throughout the games and say, yeah, he won us round 16. He kicked 4 goals in the last quarter against Collingwood. He did this, he did that in these games, which practically won him off his own boot. Or do you look at the 1.5 goals a game with 18 touches?
Definitely relative to what he's doing. So if he does have a couple of games where he lights it up, great, of course you compensate for it. And that generally happens. I think, to be honest with you, we probably did it in 2020. His first game, kicks 4, you're looking at it. I know we lost, but you're looking at it and you're like, wow, he really, turned a game on its head. And that's a thing that I'm trying to move away from, expecting that from these players and expecting Jack Martin to win us 5 games or have 5 or 6 games where he kicks 4 and whatnot. Obviously, there's going to be roles to play. I kind of want to see him last a season without falling off. I find if you go back even to his Gold Coast playing days, he starts seasons really hot and then he just fades away. And I've seen a few little things. I remember Eddie Betts put a video of him. They were lifting weights in the hub, and he made a little gag about, first time he's ever lifted a weight. And I just wonder, what's he doing in the off season? Is he trying to put some more size on? Is he trying to get more core strength, or is this his body type and this is what it is? I wonder how much he's actually doing to keep that conditioning going throughout the season. And it really starts and ends in preseason. What you do in that preseason sets you up for the rest of the season. I mean, during the year, you're going to be fit and strong, but you're also going to be very banged up. And I find that his body just gets banged up. And the reality is, he's not a soft player. He is one of our more ferocious players on the offensive end and defensive end. And he really cracks in. And I don't think anyone can ever question his, endeavor to hunt and whatnot. I just wonder if his body is allowing him to, withstand the rigors of a full season.
I think, yeah, that Voss is he's one of the players where I expect Voss to have a conversation with him like as pretty much as soon as he got into the club. When he's like, okay, what are you gonna do next season? Like let's converse and let's find out what's your body like. What does your body need working on? But also, what's your role? If he's
Mm,
going to be this, say for example, he's going to be a midfielder. Do we need to put size on? Do we need to work on whatever? Whereas if he's going to be a permanent forward, okay, do we need to work on like power? Do we need to work on whatever? Right? I think maybe again we go back to coaching. Maybe Teague didn't nurture him enough.
mm,
Potentially that could be the case, and I think that could be the case for most players, especially if we see a massive increase in performance next season. I think
yeah.
it all stems back from coaching because, and also ultimately, if you don't trust your coach and you don't trust that you have a like a lockdown role or like a specific role in the side, you're not gonna apply yourself as much. Obviously, you're gonna apply yourself because it's your job, right? But you that extra 5%, that extra 10%, you're not going to do it if you don't trust or you don't back your coach.
Hmm.
So I think it goes back to Voss. How does he get the best out of Jack Martin?
Hmm. Yeah, no, it's a great question, and I look forward to seeing if that coaching dynamic changes a lot of the situations for not just Jack, but there's so many of them that fall into this category of. I guess we're a little confused as to where they're at and what they're going to be for us. So yeah, but for you guys at home, let us know where does Jack play his best footy? How do you see his role in 2022, and what are your expectations, if any, at all?